BlackWarGreymon is back with the all-new Ace version from the EX10 set, Sinister Order, alongside with a new Koromon, Agumon, Greymon, and Metal Greymon, which are all virus dedicated for this particular support. Since this is my personal favorite Digimon and deck to play of all time, I've been cooking up many different iterations for this particular deck, including both the black base and the red base, which I want to talk about their differences. Starting off with the black base, it has a lot of control elements where you redirect attacks, you get to gain memory all turns and draw cards as well, and potentially gain DP buffs to disrupt your opponents and also control the board. As you climb up your Digivolution stack and taunt your opponent's Digimon to force them attack, you make your block, and then you get to gain a ton of memory to steal the turn back. By doing so, you can gather momentum by setting up your additional pieces for potentially building a second stack out. One of the biggest things that I realized after playtesting is that once you clear out your opponent's entire board of Digimon, your BlackWarGreymon stack and its inherent effects no longer give you value because it heavily relies on your opponent having a Digimon in the board in the first place. And because of that, BlackWarGreymon Ace becomes a vanilla beatstick with only 12k DP, which also becomes a bit of a liability because it has Ace Overflow. At the same time, I feel like I was struggling to win games because it lacks the damage, and that is why I decided to go with the red base this time around instead, because I want to make proactive attacks as I want to deal additional damage and have additional power at all times in order to push for aggressive plays even when the opponents don't have Digimon on their board. And with the red base, it gives me more opportunities to close out games, meanwhile still maintaining the control elements within the top end. But that doesn't necessarily mean the black base is not good at all, because I'm always constantly cooking up new variations and trying to find different ways to make it work. And if you want to see a deck list of the black base version that I've been working with, make sure to become an AVAULT Club member by clicking on the join button, where you also get access to all my other deck lists as well, and also constant updates, and I really appreciate the support. But with that being said, let's begin with the deck profile as I showcase you with the Digi-8 cards. Starting with that, I'm running 4 copies of the BT14 Koromon, which is the main draw power as long as we can take out the opponent's security meanwhile doing so. And now let's talk about rookies, which I'm running 4 copies of the BT12 Agumon, which is the main searcher of the deck, grabbing anything within the Greymon line, which includes BlackWarGreymon itself as well, and also help us grab the Tamer Tie, which I'm definitely playing a couple of in this deck as well. All turns with the extra 1000 DP buff is always fantastic with its inherent effect to ensure that our stack is as strong and as high DP as possible during the opponent's turn as well. Moving on next, I'm running 3 copies of the BT14 Agumon. You guys might be thinking I'm being crazy because you should be running 4 copies of this card, as it lets you Digivolve straight into a Greymon for free as long as you have a tie. The thing is, when I was playtesting, I realized generally this is a card that is more beneficial as my secondary stack once I'm ready to go. Once I actually have the tie out on the board, that's when I really gain the true value, meaning this is not really an opening card that I want to see right in the get-go, especially if I'm going first or even second. Despite that, the extra 2000 DP buff inheritable during your turn is always useful to make sure that you can beat over things, but I mainly want to prioritize searching and the consistency in the early stages of the game to find my pieces, which is why I'm running 3 copies of Agumon X, which I initially ran 2 instead, and then had the 4 copies of BT14 Agumon. Like I mentioned, it's really important to find your stack building pieces in order to climb up through your levels, including the X antibody versions, so that you can have a optimal and powerful stack as much as possible. That's it for all the level 3s. Now let's talk about level 4s, which I'm running 3 copies of the Starter Greymon. Simple inherent effect just to give security attack +1 is the main reason why, like I mentioned earlier, having that damage source in order to help you push for games and take down your opponent's security to pressure. As for the secondary Greymon, I'm running 2 copies of the one from BT12, which lets us play out a tie for free if we don't have a tie to begin with. This is one of the Greymons that you want to play outside early by digivolving on top of your Searcher Agumon so that you can establish your tie as soon as possible. And just like the BT12 Agumon, extra 1000 DP inherent effect all turns is always great. That's it for the regular Greymons. Now let's talk about the X antibody Greymons, which I'm running 3 copies of the one from BT9. Protection is just really important to keep your stack alive for as long as possible. Preventing your opponents from bouncing or deleting your Greymon stack with any effects is still really good in this day and age. And then to wrap up for the rest of level 4s and the other Greymon X antibody, there certainly is the one-off, which is still one of the best ones out there because it just helps you turbo up Digivolve into your line, especially when you go into your Metal Greymon for only 1 cost, as it can reduce it by 2. And its inherent effect gives you the same protection just like the one from BT9, but you just need to bottom deck a X antibody option card within the sources instead. That's it for the level 4s. Now let's talk about our level 5s, starting with the brand new Metal Greymon from EX10, which I'm running 3 copies of. When you play or Digivolve this card, you simply taunt one of your opponent's Digimon to force it to attack at the start of the main phase. It also gains collision, meaning that the Digimon on your side get to block. This helps you feed into the BlackWarGreymon Ace play as you get to Digivolve for absolutely 0 cost. Once you get into BlackWarGreymon, you block the opponent's attack, and then that's when you gain the inherent effect to trash your opponent's security since an attack target was switched during the opponent's turn. This card is the main key piece that gives you instant value where you want to see it most of the time, especially if your opponent has a Digimon on the board so they can gain instant value. And then I also teched in 1 copy of the Promo Ultras mode, which gives us the extra layer of protection with the exact same inherited effect as the BT9 Greymon X. Aside from that, his name is also still treated as a regular Metal Greymon, which allows us to digivolve into Metal Greymon X from BT11, which I'm running 2 copies of. Since the archetype is already pretty well covered when it comes to bouncing and deletion based effects, this gives another layer of protection from DP reduction and de-digivolve effects as well. And this gives us wider coverage against different matchups depending on what sort of removal effects the opponent might try to dish at us. Other than that, being able to delete something 6000 DP or less is also great, and with its inherent effect, you get to trash an additional opponent's security as long as something is unsuspended during the opponent's turn, which Reboot works very well together with it. And then to round out for the rest of the level 5s, I'm running 2 copies of Rise Greymon from BT22 just to help us establish our Tamers, which are either going to be our ties as well as Yukos, which are really important to our core strategy to make our stacks as strong as possible too. Other than that, it gives us another source of extra damage with security attack +1 with its inherent effect. Level 6s, this is where we begin talking about the main star of the show, which I'm starting off with the 3 copies of BlackWarGreymon Ace from the newest EX10 set. It has Raid, Reboot, and Blocker, giving you all the defensive and offensive tools you need in order to remove the opponent's Digimon and control the board. When you Digivolve or play out this card, you get to delete a 7-cost Digimon or Tamer outright. Many decks heavily rely on having Tamers these days, and one of the most iconic features of BlackWarGreymon is taking them out. Itself can also gain Digimon effect immunity all turns and extra 3000 DP buff as long as your opponent has a 13k or higher body on their side. As a BlackWarGreymon fan myself, I noticed that this effect is incredibly cool and lore fitting. And in case you didn't know, BlackWarGreymon has always been a character that constantly seeks challenges against stronger enemies, and then with that, he becomes stronger itself. And that is exactly where this effect derives from. Next, for the secondary BlackWarGreymon from BT8, I'm running 2 copies of this card. Similar to the new Ace one, but this original form can delete both Digimon and Tamers on the opponent's side of the board, up to play cost 6 or less. Depending on a matchup, you can delete 2 of your opponent's 3-cost Tamers, or 1 4-cost or 2-cost, or even delete a Digimon that's 3-cost alongside with a 3-cost Tamer, however you want, as long as you have both a red and black source. Itself also gets to unsuspend once during either player's turn as long as the opponent's Digimon is deleted. And this is where it gives you the opportunity to take down the opponent's Digimon, unsuspend, and then go for the opponent's security. Lastly, to round up for the rest of the level 6s, I'm currently only running 1 copy of BlackWarGreymon X. The reason why I'm only running 1 copy at this moment is because I generally want to focus more of my game plan on BlackWarGreymon Ace, and you rarely want to Digivolve X on top of it because then you lose all its immunity and other effects. Which is why I only really top it off with BlackWarGreymon X if I really need to remove the opponent's Digimon or redirect attacks. That wraps up for all the level 6s, and then for the level 7, I'm just running 1 copy of Omnimon X as a finisher once we clear out all the opponent's security. Tamers, which I play quite a number of different ones like I mentioned before. Starting with Tai, I'm running 3 copies of the one from BT12. This gives our Greymon extra 1000 DP and Blocker at the starter main. Although BlackWarGreymon itself already has Blocker, this is still good to give our BT8 BlackWarGreymon the capability to block as well. But mainly, you also get to gain a memory as you Digivolve up the line so you can climb efficiently. Next, I also got the BT1 memory setter tie to give us the additional damage that we need to take down the opponent's security. As we move on with the other Tamers, I'm running 2 copies of Yuko to gain additional memory during the start of main phase as long as the opponent has a Digimon, and whenever we redirect attacks, we get to suspend her to give our Digimon immunity and extra 3000 DP for that particular turn. This is really good at synergizing together with the Metal Greymon taunting combo as we blast Digivolve and block, or even when we raid with BlackWarGreymon Ace as well, so that we can ensure our stack is always protected as we're attacking or defending. And then to round off the rest of the Tamers, I got 2 copies of the BT9 Cool Boy just to help search out our X antibody pieces and also gain us additional memory and draw power whenever we Digivolve up. And now for options, I'm running 1 copy of Hades Force, which is BlackWarGreymon X's signature move, as it allows you to delete multiple things on your opponent's side of the board up to the play cost that your Greymon has. Afterwards, one of your Greymon can attack, so this is great in situations that you need to remove any interaction your opponents may have on the board so they can go for a safe swing. One thing to keep in mind is that you get the maximum value when you utilize this card together with the older BT8 BlackWarGreymon or BlackWarGreymon X because they have higher play costs in comparison to the new BlackWarGreymon Ace, which only has 7 play costs. The nice thing is that you get to reduce the cost of this card if you have the X antibody option within your stack already. And that transitions into both our X antibody option cards, which I'm running 1 copy of the Proto Form and 1 of the original one. Proto Form is intended to help us climb up into our stack with less memory, and as for the older X antibody card, we get to Digivolve as we attack. There are some specific cases by having 1 of each becomes helpful when it comes to synergizing with the BT11 Greymon X inherited effect. And there are times that I have Proto Form within the stack which I end up bottom decking in order to protect my Greymon from any bouncing and deletion effects. But that is where the BT9 X antibody can come in as as I can slide it back in to refresh my inherit effect in order to keep it protected once again. And then to round off for the rest of the red staple options, I'm running 4 copies of Offense Training and 1 copy of Red Scramble. Tech choices and other cards that you guys can also include. With the Digi-Egg card, there is the BT5 Koromon that allows you to draw a card as you attack with a Greymon instead of relying on the BT14 Koromon to have your opponent lose a security first and then draw. Overall, it's entirely up to you on which kind of draw power egg that you personally prefer. Next, there is the new Agumon from EX10 that helps you grab a virus trait Greymon back from your trash to your hand with its starter main. So as you push it out, there are times that you may have used your BT11 Greymon X already, and that helps you recur it so that you can use it again to efficiently digivolve and climb up. Other than that, just like the BT12 Agumon with the exact same inherit effect to give you extra 1000 DP all turns. Then there is also the new Virus Greymon, which itself has Raid, and when you digivolve or play it out, you can instantly give something extra 3000 DP that lasts until the end of your opponent's turn. This can be your own Digimon to beef it up or itself so that it can raid over something. Otherwise, you can increase the DP of your opponent's Digimon to help you reach the threshold of BlackWarGreymon in order to gain its immunity for another turn. And just like the Agumon with the exact same inherit effect, extra 1000 DP is always nice. And then there's still the BT5 Greymon, which can effectively become a 1-cost level 4 Evo as long as you have Agumon in the stack, and also providing you extra 2000 DP that is only specifically during your turn. Other Metal Greymons you can play is the one from BT12, which itself has Raid, and when you redirect attacks, you can play out Tamers for free, which is great value, and ultimately providing you the inherent effect of piercing so that whenever your BlackWarGreymon takes down your opponent's Digimon, you can still deal damage at the same time, which works exceptionally well together with the BT812. Or if you're looking for additional DP based removal, there's always the one from EX9 that can always at least delete something that's 7k or less as you put a face down source when you digivolve or play it out. Otherwise, there is the EX9 Ultras mode that can instantly delete something that's 8000 DP or less. And if you ever play out the Tamer tie, you can then instantly digivolve up into any of your BlackWarGreymons for free, and also providing extra 4000 DP during your turn as its inherit effect. Since this is a BlackWarGreymon deck after all, you can always splash in its alternative form, which is Gaiomon, which has a ton of other different removal and control tools, and for aggression as well, whichever you need based on your personal preference. And speaking of Gaiomon, I am working on a updated Gaiomon build as well to get her some of these new EX10 cards, which I think suit them very well too. So if you guys want to see that as well, once again, make sure to join the AVAULT Club by clicking on the join button, and also subscribe to stay tuned for more. Other than Omni X being your level 7, you can also run Agumon Ace as a secondary level 7. Since the main combo is to taunt your opponent's Digimon, you can always preemptively digivolve into BlackWarGreymon yourself, and then as the attack, you can then go into the Agumon Ace to remove their opponent's Digimon, and then when it comes back to your turn, you can swing and trash your opponent's security at the same time. Since the meta also has a lot of effects that play Digimon, you can always consider including Crimson Blaze, and if you want to increase your search efficiency a little bit more and memory gain, you can also include Red Memory Boost. Combos and how to play the all-new BlackWarGreymon Ace deck. Starting with your mulligan hand, you're going to find your searching rookies and your pieces to help you gather to climb up into your 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, and your X antibodies. So ideally, you want to hard play out your BT12 Agumon to help you search, evo your Agu X outside as much as you can to continue grabbing pieces, and also to have Cool Boy or Offense Training to help you find your other cards, and then have them set up already to give you later delay value as well. As you climb up, then you want to set up your ties and your Yukos if possible in between, and as you go into Metal Greymon, taunt your opponent's Digimon to attack so they can feed into your BlackWarGreymon Ace plays, or go into the other BlackWarGreymon to start controlling the board and start attacking into your opponent's security to deal damage and pressure against them. For the first combo, you generally want to have a setup that looks like this, where you prioritize hard playing the Agumon from BT12 like I mentioned earlier to help you search and find pieces. If you ever have your BT14 Agumon, that's the one that you want to digivolve and raising, and keep it in the back so that you can go for the first combo to try and set up your ties in the board, so then you can eventually push out for later on and go for value plays as you evo for free. But here, let's just say your opponent put you down to 1 memory, and all you need is an Offense Training with the Agumon present that you have on the board that you initially played out already. And this is why I'm going to show you guys how you can climb all the way up into a BlackWarGrey Ace just by having that single Agumon alongside with the Offense Training. You're going to digivolve into Agumon X. If you ever have the X antibody versions, use them as much as possible and search and draw as well. Now use Offense Training delay to digivolve into Greymon for free, whichever Greymon that you have. Then go into the X antibody version, Greymon X. Now, you want to end the turn by digivolving into a Metal Greymon, passing your opponent to 2 memory. And once you digivolve into Metal Greymon, that is where you want to make sure that your opponent has a Digimon on the board, where you get to taunt the opponent's Digimon to force it to attack at the start of main, and you're going to have collision so that you can be able to block the opponent's attack. The collision is not going to matter too much because once your opponent attacks, this is where you're going to blast into a BlackWarGreymon Ace for free, and itself is going to be able to delete something 7 costs or less. You're going to ideally want to delete something that is on the side of the board that is either a Tamer or another Digimon that they have on the board that is not attacking one, so then you can block with the BlackWarGreymon Ace, and because you blocked with it, this is where you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security stack and take down your opponent's Digimon, and then setting up your boss monster on the board right away. For combo number 2, I'm going to show you guys how you can set up your Tamers, such as your Ties and Yukos, and also climb all the way up into a BlackWarGreymon in the same turn. Assuming you have these pieces at the same time, you want to try to go into the BT8 BlackWarGreymon to control the board, and there you go with a stack. Push out with an Agumon. It can be any Agumon, and ideally, once again, like before, digivolve into the X antibody versions whenever you can. Now we're going to use the offense training just like before. With 1 memory, that is all you need. We're going to digivolve into the BT12 Greymon specifically, which is going to let us play out the tie specifically from BT12 to give it blocker and 1k for the turn. Now we want to utilize the Greymon X antibody to digivolve for 0, and because we digivolve into Greymon, we can suspend tie to gain a memory as well. Thanks to the Greymon's X antibody, we can now digivolve into Rise Greymon for 1 cost only, and using his when digivolving effect, since we have 1 or fewer Tamers, this is then we're going to play out the Yuko here. Before you continue, since you have Greymon X, make sure to pay attention. If you ever have X antibody, make sure to slide it underneath as well so you can gain the protection of that inherent effect. This is where you want to analyze the board state, because Rise Greymon itself is very powerful in terms of DP. If your opponent has anything that is 13k or below, this is where you can actually raid over it if it was unsuspended. So let's say we go ahead and attack into their opponent's Digimon, and because we raid into it, this is where we can suspend Yuko to gain additional protection from Digimon effects and extra 3k. Rise Greymon is going to swing over the opponent's Digimon with at least 14k itself, and as you take it out, this is where you can finish the turn off by digivolving into a BlackWarGreymon. Once again, if the opponent has Tamers to remove, you can delete multiples of them with 2-3 costs, 1-4 costs, or 1-2 costs as well alongside, as it totals up to 6. Or you can delete one of the opponent's Tamers, that's 3 costs, and if they have a rookie on the side, that's where you also get to delete it, and then you get to unsuspend with BlackWarGreymon standing as a blocker in the opponent's turn. By the end of the turn, you are going to lose the protection of Yuko, so that's where you're going to decide when you want to use it, because if you anticipate the opponent attacking into you, since you have blocker, you can block with the BlackWarGreymon, and if you haven't used Yuko yet, this is where you get to suspend and gain the Digimon effect immunity and extra 3000 DP for that turn to take down the opponent's Digimon and unsuspend once again, and you have a big control stack on the board that is also protected from any bottom decking, bouncing, and also deletion effects as well. For this combo, I'm going to show you guys how you can go for a 2-turn game-winning plan to finish your opponents off, assuming if you're ever going to be able to get into that late stage of the game where you have a lot of setup with multiple Tamers such as Tai, Cool Boys, Yukos, and a training with the BT14 Agumon, which I mentioned earlier, to save for the later stages once it's ready to go. 1 memory is all you need. You're going to push out. Just like before, you want to make sure your opponent has a Digimon on the board, which you're going to interact with later on as well. So then Yuko is going to gain you a memory. With the starter main of Agumon, you're then going to digivolve into the Greymon for free, and because you did that, you get to suspend both these ties to gain a memory each, and also resolving the starter main effect, you're going to give it extra 2k and blocker until the end of the opponent's turn. Next, you're going to now digivolve into Greymon X for 0 cost, suspend the Cool Boy to gain a memory and draw a card. Next, use the offense training delay to digivolve into Metal Greymon for 1, which is once again why it's important to make sure your opponent has a Digimon on their side of the board so they can taunt it for an attack, which is going to help you deal the additional damage that you need to finish the game off. Now you're going to use Proto Form to help you digivolve into Metal Greymon X antibody for 0 cost. The most important thing is that you want to make sure you're at 4 memory, or when you go into BlackWarGreymon, you're still at 0 memory. So whether you have different cards of setup that help you gain memory, or multiple offense trainings, or even like a memory setter tie, or even red scramble to help you get there, this is exactly how you achieve it. First, you're going to delete something with 6000 DP or less, but you're also going to gain DP reduction protection and D-Digivolve protection as well. Now, since you have 4 memory, we're going to be able to go into BlackWarGreymon Ace for 4 costs and still keeping our turn here. You get to delete something, which is going to be a Tamer, 7 costs or less, or another Digimon on the side. Most importantly, you want to make sure that you keep the taunted Digimon alive on the board at the moment, because now you get to swing at your opponent's security and you get to deal 2 checks. Draw a card with Koromon. Once you dealt 2 checks into your opponent's security, they're going to have 3 left, and this is where you want to find a way to end the turn. There's a couple ways where you can either just play a rookie for 3 costs and pass him to 3, or you can Digivolve into BlackWarGreymon X antibody, but make sure to be careful because as you unsuspend, you also get to delete your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. You want to make sure they have a different Digimon on the side once again, which is good for removing wide boards, but if the opponent only has 1 Digimon left on the board, which is the one that you make sure that you want to taunt it, so then you want to pass them to 3 here to end the turn, because now once you reboot, you're going to trash the opponent's another security, and you want to make sure to force that opponent's Digimon to attack, because once they do, this is where you're going to block with the BlackWarGreymon, trash another security with MetalGreymon, and because you redirected an attack, you're going to use Yuko to give it protection and extra 3000 DP for the turn. If the opponent's not able to play outside anymore, and if they're not able to respond against this board, they're going to pass you back to 1 once again or something, and once you unsuspend, you're going to hatch and suspend all your Tamers. This is where you can once again give Walker with Tie here. You can spread it out however you want. Since your opponent has 1 security left, you can either swing with the BlackWarGreymon to deal the final blow and then use Agumon to finish the game off, or if you never had that rookie on the side, you can simply go into Omni X to finish the game off like that as well. Onyx Burst collection, which is one of my all-time favorites, is now live on the AVAULT store, and the first 50 collection orders will get a free exclusive Onyx Burst memory marker during this time only. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.